Greetings once more. Welcome to Mathematics with Star. In today's video, we'll be doing paper 2, September 2025, in preparation for final. So question 1, 1.1, on June 25, the points of the top 10 rugby sevens team on the rankings were as follows: 27, 36, 50, 56, 57, 65, 70, 88, 96, 104. The first question says calculate the average, which is the mean of the 10 teams' points. So we're given the points of 10 teams. So for example, team number 1 have 27 points due to team number 10. So this is top 10. So looking at the data that is given, you can see that the data is not grouped. So if it's not grouped, when we use our calculator, let's make sure that our frequency is off. So when we put our frequency off, we press shift mode, and then we press a down arrow. Then we are doing statistics, and then we make sure that the frequency is off. Then let's go and enter the data. Option number 2. Then option number 1 for variancy. Then you enter your data. That is 27. That is 36. Then you have a Then after entering the data, we don't press on, we press AC. Then shift option number 1. So let's answer the question. The question says we must give them the average. We know that when we calculate the average, that is average. If you can check, some can go option number 3. We are looking for only sum, not sum squared. So option number 2, then we are going to get 649, then divide by 10. Then our average is equals to, you can also do it using our calculator. You press AC, shift option number 1. And then when we are looking for the mean, we go for option number 4. Then option number 2, that is our mean. Then we get 64.9. Determine the standard deviation of the points. Standard deviation of the points. We know that the symbol, when we calculate the standard deviation, same thing. Remember, we already entered the data. We go for option number 4, variancy. Then that is our standard deviation, which is option number 3. Then when we press equal sign, we get 23, when we round it to 2 decimal, we round it to 2 decimal place. So we are going to get 23.86. Then even this one, we are going to get 2 marks. Just using your calculator. Then the most array 1.1.3 says determine the number of teams whose points lie within one standard deviation of the mean. So we need to find the interval. So to find the interval, we need to find x bar minus the standard deviation, which is x bar, our x is 64.9 minus standard deviation, which is 23.86. So we get 41.04. Then we also need to add the 2. We need to add the 2. When we add the 2, we get 88,76, meaning the interval is 41,04. Then this side we're having 88,76. So how many are within one standard deviation of the mean? So from here we must look for a number that is greater than 41,04 but less than 88,76. That is the interval. So if you can check, this is not within, it's not within, this also is not within, it's not greater than 41,4. This one is the first one to be greater than, which is 1. The second one, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one still is greater than 41,04, but less than 88,76. So 88 is also less than 88,76, but greater than 41,04. This one is not within, this one is not within, meaning the answer is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So rather our answer is how many are determine the number of teams whose points lie within one standard deviation of the mean. So there are 6 teams. Minimum value. Then this is our lower quartile. Then this is our upper quartile. The quartile number 2, which is the median. Then this is our upper quartile. Then this one is our maximum. Then we're given the mean. So if we can check our mean is 59, and 59 is less than the median. So looking at the distribution of the data, and given that our mean is less than our Q2, is, okay, let me write it here. This is skewed to the left. Why are we saying it's skewed to the left? Number one, if we can check our median, our mean, if we can check why are we saying that it's skewed to the left, our mean is less than our median. That's why we are saying it is skewed to the left. Or someone can also say more information is on the left hand side. How do you see that more information is on the left hand side? We check the space. If we can check the space on the left hand side is greater than the space on the right hand side. So it means that more information is on the left hand side, hence we say that the data is skewed to the left. Some the data that include 2 variables. So we're having the team latitude refer to how far a location is from the equator. The latitudes in the northern hemisphere range from 0 degrees at the equator to 90 degrees north at the North Pole. Below are the latitude of several cities in the northern hemisphere, along with the average maximum temperature for April in degrees Celsius. So here is our data. If we can check, we're having 2 types of data. We're having 2 data, which is the X and the Y. So always when we're given data like this, the first one that appears on the column or on the row is our X, and then the other one is our Y. the independent variable and dependent variable. So the first question says draw a scatter plot for the information above on the diagram provided in the answer book. So in the answer book, we're going to be given a diagram sheet, something like this, something like this. So first thing first, you need to write your topic if it's not right, it's not written. So it's a latitude versus average maximum temperature for April. If we can check, we're having altitude versus average maximum temperature for April. So you just write that. Then we agreed that always the one that comes first is going to be on our x-axis, then the other one on our y-axis. Then let's check. First point, our x value is 6. So somewhere there is going to be 5. Then x6 is after 5. So 6 and 32. 6 with 32. So 32 somewhere before. Okay, 1, 2. So 32 somewhere there. Yeah. Somewhere there. Then 52. The x value is 52. Are we having 52? Yes, 55. Then 51, 52, 51, 52. Somewhere there. 52 is 13. Where is 13? 13 somewhere there. Is the point somewhere there. Then 23, 25, 23 with 36. 36 is above, so that is 4 marks. You can just write 4 marks. The next question, 2.2, it says determine the equation of the least square regression line. We know that the equation of any line is y is equals to mx plus c. But because we are doing statistics, we're given the formula. So the formula is y is equals to a plus bx. So the most common mistake is that learners make is to swap the two, the value of a and b. So let's talk about it. The value of a represents the value of c. It's the y-intercept. The value of b is the gradient, of which in most of the case is just a small number. So you must be careful when it comes to this one because you can lose 3 marks. So we are going to use our calculator to determine the value of a and the value of b. So remember we have captured or entered the data. So we're still going shift option number 2. Then because we are doing statistics for grade 12, then we are looking for the value of a and the value of b. So value of a is option number 1. Option number 1, the value of a is 40, 40,27. Then what about the value of b? Value of b, same thing, shift option number 1, stats, number 5, regression, then number 2. Then press equal sign. So the gradient, most of the case is a small number. So we are from the exam guideline, we are told that we must write down first the value of a, the value of b, then after we must write the equation. The value of b is 40,27. the value of, okay, the value of A. The value of A is 40, comma 27. Then the value of B is a negative number. Value of B is negative 0.51, then times x. Then this is the equation. So it's only given 3 marks. 1 mark for the value of A, 1 mark for the value of B, 1 mark for the value of, the equation of the square regression line. So we do this using our calculator. Then another 3 marks, 2.3. 2.3 says the city of the Madrid has a latitude of 40 degrees. Determine the estimated average maximum temperature for April for this city. Here we are, make sure that you don't make a mistake. You must know your values of x and your values of y. You must know your independent and dependent. How do we know that this one's the independent? The easiest one is to say the one comes on the table that is given, whether it's in column or whether it's in row. The first one, the given data is the x value, and the other one is the y value. So here our x value is the altitude, which is given in degrees. Then the y value is average maximum temperature for April. So if you can check, we're given that the the we're given the altitude of 40 degrees, meaning we're given the value of x. Then determine the estimated average maximum temperature for April for this city. Then we are looking for the value of y. So using that equation above, we are given the value of x. We are given the value of x. What is the value of x? Is 40 degrees. Then we simply use our calculator. How much is that? That is 19.87. So we are not told to round it to any decimal, meaning we are going to put it to 2 decimal. So that is the determine the estimated average maximum temperature for April. That is the estimated average maximum temperature for April for this city. Then is how many marks? It's 2 marks. Obvious, the first mark is for correct sub. So make sure you know your values of x, because sometimes we can be given the value of y, then we are asked to find the value of x. Not always will be given the value of x. Then the other mark is for the answer. Then the most common one, this one is common. Calculate the correlation coefficient. What are we talking about when we talk about the correlation coefficient? We are talking about the association between the two variables. Remember, we're having two variables. What is the relationship? So is the relationship strong? Is the relationship weak? Is it a positive relationship? Is it a negative relationship? Is it a positive relationship? Is it a negative relationship? So how do you determine that? We must look for the value of R, that is our correlation coefficient. Then we know that the value of R range from -1 to 1. So if the value of R is very close to 1, number one we're going to say is a positive, then it's going to be strong. Then if it's close to -1, here we are going to say is a negative and it's also strong. Then if it's a number that is close to 0, here is 0, then here it's going to be weak. Then looking at the sign is on the positive side, here that is positive. Close to 1, but on the negative side, here that is weak but negative. So let's go and use our calculator to find the value of R. Same thing. Still having our data, option number 5, regression, smaller than R is there. Then when we press our equal sign, we get negative 0.91. So the value of R, the correlation coefficient, the one they say we must calculate, is negative 0.91. So calculate the correlation coefficient of the data and describe the correlation between the altitude and the average maximum temperature for April. So what is the relationship? If we can check, our value of R is negative. So that is going to be a negative relationship. Negative relationship means what? When the other one is increasing, then the other one is going to decrease. It's an inversely proportional. Then if I can try to draw a line of best fit here, we are going to have a downhill line. I'm just giving an example. So this is a what? And looking at the magnitude, that the number is very close to 1. So if I start with the strength, this is a strong, because that number is close to 1, but it's negative. So it's a strong negative. It's a strong negative correlation. It's a strong negative correlation. So easy marks. 1 mark for the value of R, 1 mark for the comment. Remember, the comment is based on the scale. We are saying if the number is close to a positive 1, it means that it's strong and is a positive. If the number is close to negative 1, it means that it's strong because it's close to negative 1. Then because it's negative, it's going to be a strong negative correlation. But if it's close to 0 from the negative side, is a weak negative correlation. Close to 0 coming from the positive side is a weak positive correlation. Yes, then that is our statistics. Then that is 9 plus 10, which is 19 marks. So it is always advisable to start with the statistics so that we can get motivation. Questions are always common. So we are having analytical geometry from grade 11. The first question is analytical geometry from grade 11. So here we must know our formulas. We must know when do we use a distance formula. Obviously, we use it if we are to calculate the length between 2 points, or if we're given the length between 2 points, we're looking for one of the coordinates. We must know how to use the gradient formula. Obviously, we use it to calculate the gradient between the 2 points. If I'm given the gradient, I can also use it. Then if we are told that the two lines are parallel, we know that these two lines, they are going to have equal gradient. If we're having points on the same straight line, collinear points, it means that they have the same gradient. Then if the two lines are perpendicular, meaning when they meet at right angle, then we know that the two gradient of those lines, when we multiply them, they must give us a negative 1. That's when we talk about the gradient. Then we must also know how to use the midpoint formula. Midpoint formula, we use it if we want to calculate the midpoint. Then told that this is a parallelogram. I know that diagonals bisect each other, meaning they're having the same gradient. They're having the same midpoint. So One of the easiest chapter. Actually, mathematics is one of the easiest subject. Yes. In the diagram below, P, Q, R, and S are the vertices of a parallelogram. Yes, before you must know the story about a parallelogram. Four-sided figure, yes, opposite side are parallel. So already this four-sided figure, we know that this is parallel to this one, and also this side is parallel to this one because it's a parallelogram. Number one, this side is equals to that one. Yes, because it's a parallelogram. If it's a parallelogram, diagonals bisect each other, meaning the midpoint of QS is equals to the midpoint of PR. Yes, because it's a parallelogram. Yes, meaning you must know the properties. Then the x-intercept, they're telling us the answer. The x-intercept of PQ, meaning if I want to calculate the coordinate of t, I need to find the x-intercept of PQ. And x-intercept, we know that y is equals to 0. We are also told that Qn, where is Qn? Qn, okay, this line, cause the x-axis at M. So we know that any point at the x-axis, the value of y is 0. We don't know the value of x, meaning they are telling us that for you to find the coordinate of M, you need to find the x-intercept of Qn. We're given the answers. Then we're also given the angle M in triangle TMQ. That is, that angle is equals to beta. Then we know that even this guy is going to be equals to beta because these are the vertical opposite angles. In other words, examiner is trying to tell us that the angle of inclination, of Qn, remember the angle of inclination is the angle between the line. If this is my x-axis, then if I'm having a line like this, the angle between the x-axis and the line measured from the positive x-axis or measured anti-clockwise, this is the angle of inclination. If I'm having another line that is like that, angle of inclination, the angle between the x-axis measured anti-clockwise, this is the angle of inclination. We also have other angle that we don't know the name. This angle, that angle is not the angle of inclination. Even this one, the green one, are not the angle of inclination because we are saying the angle of inclination must be measured anti-clockwise or from the positive x-axis to the line. So the red ones are the ones that are the angle of inclination. So that is why I'm saying this angle B is the angle of inclination because this angle is measured from the x-axis anti-clockwise to the line. That is our angle of inclination. Meaning if they can say calculate the size of beta, I'm going to find the angle of inclination of QN. So let's check the questions. The first question says determine the gradient of QR. So the most interesting part of about analytical geometry is that you are given the answers. Yes, examiner is giving us the answers here. Determine the gradient, meaning for you to find the answer to this question, you must find the gradient of QR. So, in other words, examiner saying use the gradient formula. So, but let's go and check. Can we find the gradient of QR? Where is our QR? Here is our QR. Are we having all the coordinates? Yes. coordinate of Q will be coordinates of R, meaning I can use the gradient formula. Small letter m, the gradient of QR. Remember the formula for gradient is y2 minus y1. So my y2 are the y value at R, then my y1, y value at Q, divide by x2, that is the x value at R minus the x value at Q. Then what is the y value at R? It's minus 2, minus from the formula, y value at Q is minus 3. Then divide by x value at R. X value at R is 2. X value at R is minus 5. Minus from the formula into minus 5. Then if we press our calculator, then the gradient is here we're going to have negative times negative, positive, negative, negative 2 plus 3 is going to give us 1. Then negative times negative is positive, 2 plus 5, that is 7. Then that is the free marks. Then what about 3.2? Calculate the size of beta. Remember when we were reading the statement, we discovered that beta is the angle of inclination of the line QN. So for us to find beta, we must find the angle of inclination of QN. So let's talk about the angle of inclination. Remember, if we want to find the angle of inclination, we need to find tan of the angle is equals to the gradient. In this case, we must talk about the gradient of QN. But remember, the gradient of QR is equals to the gradient of QN. It's also equals to the gradient of QM because this is collinear, points on the same line. So then tan of beta is equals to 1 over 7. Our gradient is positive, meaning the angle of inclination must be an acute angle. So let's make beta the subject of the formula. So because we are done with statistics, make sure that you reset your calculator. Then inverse tan, inverse shift tan of 1 over 7. The angle is equals to 8,13 degrees to decimal. So this is 3 marks. I don't know why is it 3 marks, but 1 mark for correct sub, then 1 mark for simplifying, 1 mark for answer. Determine the value of A. Let's go and check where is A. Remember, A is the x-coordinate of t. So, and we are told that the x-intercept, you're already been told the answer is. So, we are already given the answer, yes. The answer is already given to us. The x-intercept of PQ is t, meaning for you to find the coordinate of t, you must find the x-intercept. So let's check. Do we have the equation of PQ? Because we need to find the x-intercept of PQ. Because we are told that the x-intercept of PQ is t. So we need to find the equation. So let's go and find the equation. So equation of a line, so y is equals to mx plus c, or the other one. So this equation says for you to find the equation of this line, you need to find the small letter m, which is the gradient of PQ. Do we have the gradient of PQ? No, we don't, and it's also not given, meaning we need to calculate the gradient. So let's find the gradient of PQ. The gradient of PQ, y2, y at P minus into y at Q. Then we divide it by y x at P minus x at Q. Then what is the answer? Then the answer we get a positive 1, which is 5 divided by 5. Then we can update our equation. Our equation is updated plus c. We need to find the value of c. Remember, what is the value of c? Remember from this equation, the value of c represents y, the y-intercept. Meaning we can calculate the value of c, but if it's given, we can simply substitute the value of c. Let's check. Are we given the y-intercept? We are going to check on the y-axis. Yes, we are given the y-intercept, meaning the y-intercept is 2, the y-coordinate. So, meaning it's not a sin to just say, therefore, the equation of this line is y is equals to x plus 2, because this 2 is our y-intercept. Or you can still prove it. You choose any coordinate. You can choose coordinate p, or can choose any coordinate 0 and 2. Then what is the value of y? Value of y is 2. Value of x is 0 plus c. Then c is equals to 2. Grade 9. Then remember the question, we are not looking for the equation, we are looking for the coordinate of A, and we are told from the statement that coordinate of A is the x coordinate of t, and the coordinate of t is the x-intercept. So we need to find the x-intercept of this line. So let's find the x-intercept. We know that x-intercept grade 9, this is where y is equals to 0. Then where I see y, I replace it with 0. Then if I were to make x the subject of the formula, x is equals to negative 2. Therefore, the value of a, remember we are told that to calculate the value of a, it's a negative of 2. Then let's see how do we mark this one. Obviously, 1 mark for the value of a, equating y to 0, we have to allocate it 4 marks. 1 marks for the equation, then the other mark is for finding the gradient. Then that is your 4 marks. Easy stuff, easy stuff. 3.4, determine the coordinates of S. So if we can check S, someone can say S is the point of intersection of the two lines. PS meet with SR, meaning someone can say for me to find the coordinate of S, I need to find the equation of PS and equate it to the equation of SR. But we're only given 2 marks. Why is it 2 marks? Because we have another method that we can U. So remember, this is a parallelogram. So if it's a parallelogram, we know that the distance of PS is equal to the distance of PR, meaning when I move from, I mean QR, when I move from QR, from Q to R, I'm traveling the same distance when I'm moving from P to S. So let's check. When am at Q, I want to go to R. I need to move horizontally these units and another unit vertical. That is the distance. So let's check. From the y axis to Q is how many units? It's 7 units to the left. From the y-axis to R, how many units is 2 units to, I mean, it's not 7, it's 5 units to the left, that is 5. Then here is 2 units to the right, meaning horizontally when I move to Q, I'm going to travel first 7 units, then how many to R is not 2 units, is 1. So that 2 marks the coordinate of S. We need to know that this is a parallelogram. The distance of QR is equal to the distance of PS, meaning when I move from Q to R, traveling the same distance when I'm moving from P to S. So we know that the distance I can also move to Q, from Q to R, I will be moving horizontally. Then at this point, I need to move vertical. So how many units horizontally? From this point to that point is how many units? Let's check from here, from the y-axis to Q is 5 units. From the y-axis to R is how many units? Is 2 units. Meaning horizontal, I'm moving 7 units. Then what about vertical? Then from here, from R to this point is going to be 1 unit. Because from x-axis to R is 2 units down. From x-axis to Q is 3 units down. Then 3 minus 2 is 1. The same distance I must travel when I go to S, because PS is equals to QR. So if I want to go to PS, I need to move 7 units horizontal. Then how many units up? Same distance, 1 unit up. So if we can use theorem of Pythagoras, if I want to calculate PS, I'm going to get the same distance as QR. So meaning the coordinates of S from P to S, from 0 I need to add 7 units. Remember that 7. Then if I move vertically, if I'm moving from P to S vertically, is going to be how many units I'm having? 2 units, then I add 1 to that. Meaning the coordinates of S is 7 and 3. So it's the concept of a parallelogram. If it's a parallelogram, I repeat, it means that QR is equals to PS, meaning the distance from QR is the same distance as PS. Then how, if I'm moving from this point to PR, is the same as moving 7 units to the left and 1 unit up. It must be the same distance from P to S, meaning it's going to be 7 units to the right, 1 unit up. Then that is the coordinate of S. Then Show that the diagonals of this four-sided figure bisect each other. The way they bisect each other, the diagonal bisect each other, it means that they have the same midpoint. So in other ways, we need to find the midpoint of PR. What is the midpoint of PR? Big letter M, PR. Midpoint formula x2 plus x1. PR. So our x2 is how much? x2, x at r is 2, x at p is 0, divided by 2. Y at r is minus 2, y at p is 2 over 2. Then what is the midpoint? The midpoint of PR is equals to 1 and 0. Then let's go and find the midpoint of QS. X at S, where is S, is 7. X at Q is minus 5. Then Y at S is 3. Y at Q is minus 3. Then the midpoint of QS is 7 minus 5 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. This one is 0. 0 divided by 2 is 0. So that is the midpoint. Then let's compute. Therefore, the diagonal bisect each other. Then we write English. Therefore, the diagonal bisect each other. Then how do we mark this one? We forgot to mark that one. That one is only 2 marks. 1, 1. Then this one is how many marks? 3 marks. Sub into the formula. Okay, conclusion. Didn't write a conclusion. Conclusion, we need to say the midpoint of PR is equals to the midpoint of QS. Therefore, the two bisect each other. Show that triangle PQR is an isosceles triangle. We know that in an isosceles triangle, two sides must be equal, and also two angles must also be equal. Angles opposite to equal sides. So let's check how can we prove that is an isosceles triangle. Let's go and highlight the triangle. Triangle PQR. Triangle PQ. This triangle. So we must prove that is an isosceles triangle. So we cannot talk about the angle because the angle is it's going to take long to calculate the angles, but we can calculate the length. So we need to calculate the length of PQ, the length of PR, the length of QR, and check if it's an isosceles triangle. So let's start with the length of PQ. Remember formula x2 x at q is minus 5. Okay, not PQ. X at this one is 0 minus x at q minus 5 squared. Then x Uh, then what about y? Y at q, y at q, y at q, y at p. Is it y at p? Okay. Yes, y at p 2 minus y at that is this. Then how much using our calculator? That is the square root of 15, which is equivalent to 5 root of 2. Then what about the length of QR? Same thing. Identify the coordinates of QR. Where is QR? Yes, x r 2 minus into minus 5 squared, minus 2 into minus 3. Then even this one, when we press our calculator, we get root of 2. Then the last one, do we get the root of 2? Is it QR? Yes. Then we need to confirm what if it's equilateral. We need to also calculate the length of PR. Let's calculate the length of PR. Coordinate of P, PR. So here we're having 2 minus 0 all squared. There we're having minus 2 all squared. Then 4. Then that is 2 root of 5. Therefore, this is an isosceles because only PQ is equals to QR, but they are not equals to PR. Two sides are equal. Therefore, this three-sided figure is an isosceles. So let's give mark allocation. It's only 3 marks. So we can give 1 mark for this and the other mark is for conclusion. Then 3 marks. An isosceles triangle. Two sides must be equal and two angles must be equal. Then PSQ is a parallelogram. Let's check it. P S R Q is a parallelogram, but which other type of a quadrilateral is it? Give reason for your answer. So let's check from the calculator so that we can make a conclusion. We're going to calculate the distance. We have the distance of PQ. The root of this, we have the distance of QR. So let's find the distance of SR. Distance of SR by having 2 minus 7 squared plus 3 minus, which is plus, then is the same as 5 root of 2. The distance of SR is 5 root of 2. Let's check the distance of PS. 0 minus 7 plus 3 minus 2. So meaning the distance of PQ is equals to the distance of PS is also equals to the distance of SR is also equals to the distance of QR. They are all equals to 5 root of 2. So this is A cannot be a square because the interior angles are not at the right angle. So this is a rhombus. It's a rhombus. Why we say it's a rhombus? Because this is a type of a parallelogram whereby one pair of adjacent sides are equal. So it's a rhombus because all sides are equal. Then the last question in this question is calculate the size of angle Q. So remember we are doing analytical geometry. So we must find this angle using analytical method. We can also use the sine rule or the cosine rule, but to save time, we use analytical method. So analytical method, we need to know the concept of angle of inclination. So let's check first. We are looking for the size of this angle. So we need to ask ourselves, where is this angle? Or what is the name of this angle? This angle is the angle that is between two lines. So the angle is between the line QN and PS, meaning I must use the angle of inclination of QN and the angle of inclination of PQ. I repeat, this is the angle between two lines. Angle Q is an angle that is between PQ and QN, meaning I must use the angle of inclination of PQ and QN. We don't know how, but we are going to find out. Can use it in so many ways. So let's check if I can try to draw. Remember the angle of inclination and the gradient is the same throughout. So meaning if I can draw this x-axis here. So if the angle is the same throughout, it means that even the angle of inclination, this is going to be the angle of inclination, which is beta of this line. Then what about the angle of inclination of QP? This will be the angle of inclination of QP. Let's call it theta. Then if I want to find angle Q, it means that I need. So we already have the angle of inclination. We already have beta. Remember beta is how much? It's 8,13 degrees. This we got it from 3.2. Remember? Then let's go and find the gradient of PQ. Do we have the gradient of PQ above? If we don't have, let's calculate. That is 2 minus into minus is going to be plus 3. Then 0 minus into is going to be plus 5. 5 plus 5 is 1. Then what is the angle of inclination of PQ? The angle of inclination of PQ, let's call it theta. The gradient is positive, it's going to be 45. Then remember we said for us to find the angle Q, we need to subtract our theta. We need to subtract beta from theta. Meaning is 45 degrees minus 8,13 degrees, which is how much? Which is 36,87 degrees. That is the angle between two lines. So the angle between two lines, you must use the angle of inclination of those two lines. So let's go through the statement. That's where we get our answers. In the diagram, a circle with center O passes through the point. So the circle is centered at the origin. The first answer that we got, meaning if I were to calculate the equation of this circle is equals to that, because it is centered at the origin. The tangent to the circle at R, oh, this is the tangent. Another answer, we know that if we were to find the equation, the gradient of this tangent times the gradient of the radius must get a negative 1. Because when the two meet, they create 90 degrees. We are also given tangent, yes, that is this point. So the tangent also touches the circle at that point, which is, we don't know the value of y, but we know the value of x. That is our y-intercept, respectively. We're given angle theta. What is the name of this angle? We don't know the name of this angle, but this angle is the angle that is between the y-axis. What is the angle of inclination of the y-axis? Remember, it's 90 degrees. And the line, what is the angle of inclination of this line? That is the angle of inclination of that line. And if they say I must find that, oh, let me call it another name because theta is also given, then let's say this one is beta. If they say I must find theta because theta is between the y-axis and this line, I need to draw my imaginary x-axis here. And then from this imaginary x-axis, what is the angle of inclination of this line? That is its name beta. Then what is the angle of inclination of the y-axis? That is a 90 degrees, meaning to find theta, I must say 90 degrees minus this beta. Or someone can also say, I can use this triangle also is the angle of inclination of this line is beta is equals to that vertical opposite angle. Then I use sum of angles in a triangle. I'm maybe 90 degrees plus theta plus beta. Then I can find beta. So, but let's go through the questions. Let's go to the equation. Determine the equation of a second. Remember, the center is at the origin. Then it means that this is the equation that we must use because center is at the origin. Then we need to find r. To find the equation, we need to find r. So let's go and find r. What are we given? We're given a point on the circumference of this circle. Someone can use the distance formula, distance from this point to that point. From a distance formula, then you can find the coordinate. You can also use this equation. These are the value of x. Value of x is 4. Then the value of y is negative 1. Squared, we are looking for r squared. Then we know that 4 squared is 16. 16 plus negative 1 squared, 16 plus 1, that is 17. Then this is our r squared is equals to 17. Then if they can say calculate the radius, we are not told about the radius. They said we must calculate the equation. Then in case, what is the radius? If they say the radius, the radius is going to be the square root of 17. But we are not interested on the radius. Then what is the equation? Equation is x squared plus y squared. Where we see r squared, we put 17. Here we don't put the radius, we put the radius squared. Then that is the equation. Then we get 3 marks. Equation, value of r squared, sub. Easy stuff. Then 4.2, O is the midpoint of AE. Determine the coordinates of A. If O is the midpoint, we're given the answer. Midpoint, here somehow must use the midpoint formula. Let's read again. O is the midpoint of AE. Calculate the coordinates of A. Okay, remember midpoint formula. If I were to use that midpoint formula, it says x, midpoint of A, E, x at E plus x at A over 2. Then the y midpoint, y at E plus y at A over 2. But we are not looking for the midpoint. We are given the midpoint is 0 and 0. So we are going to use this. So the x midpoint, which is 0, x midpoint, which is 0, x at E, do we know x at E is 4, plus x at A, we don't know. Then divide by 2. Then we solve for A, x at A. Then we're going to have 0, then 4 plus x at A, meaning the coordinate of x at A is -4. Same thing, if I'm given the midpoint of y is 0, then y at E is how much? Do we have y at E? y at E is -1, then plus y at A. Cross multiplication, we get 0, then y at A is equals to a +1. Therefore, the coordinates of A is a -4. Does it make sense? Yes, it's on the negative side, and 1. Then we get 2 marks because they said the coordinates, that is 2 marks. Easy marks. Determine the equation of BC in the form of y is equals to. Let's check where is B, where is C. BC, BC. Okay, BC. They are looking for the equation. Remember, we need to find the gradient of a tangent, and we know that the tangent have a relationship with the radius. The two are perpendicular. So BC is the equation of a tangent. So we need to find the gradient of the radius. We can also say OE, which is the radius. Coordinate here is 0 and 0. So we'll be having -1 minus 0 over 4 minus 0. Then the gradient is how much? That is -1 over 4. But we are really not looking for the gradient of OE. We're actually looking for the gradient of BC. Because the two are perpendicular, if this one is -1 over 4, the other one will be 4. Meaning this one is -1 over 4 times this one is not known. Then we divide both sides by -1 over 4, we get 4. That is the negative reciprocal. of negative 1 over 4. Then we can update our equation. Remember, we are doing 4.3. We are looking for the equation of a line. So we can update that the equation is going to be 4x plus c. Remember what is c? C is actually the y-intercept. Are we given the y-intercept? Y-intercept is the coordinates of b. It's not given. We can use what is given. So we use this point. The value of y is negative 1. Value of x is 4. Then plus c. Then what is the value of c if we make it the subject of the formula is negative 70. Then let's write the equation. The equation is 4x minus 70. Then how do we mark via say the equation? Then we can also mark sub into this the gradient of this and the gradient of that. That is 4. 4.4 it says determine the equation of a line through the center of the circle that is parallel to tangent BC. Parallel lines equal gradient. Equal gradient. Meaning the gradient of that line is equals to the gradient of BC because they said the two lines are parallel. So determine the equation of a line through the center. The line must pass through the center. I can try to draw it. The line must pass through the center, something like that. Number one, the line must be parallel to this. So already I know the gradient of that line because it's parallel to the tangent. So the equation y is equals to an x plus c. Then the gradient, because it's the gradient of that line is equals to the gradient of BC is equals to 4. Remember? Then we're going to have 4x plus c. Kind of what is c? C is the y-intercept. Do we have the y-intercept? Yes, because y-intercept, this is where x is 0. What is the value of y there is 0. Therefore, the equation of that line is 4x. So it's also 2 marks. 1 mark for the statement, 1 mark for the equation. Something like that. So the circle is centered at S. Coordinate of S is A and B. So the two are centered. The two touch each other externally. So we must remember that is 3 times OE. So let's find OS. OS distance between the two center. So the distance between the two center, that is x at O minus x at S, which is A. Then y at O is 0, y at S. That is OS. Must be equals to 3 of OE, which is root of 70. Then we can square both sides. Then we are going to have this, if we simplify it, going to have a squared plus b squared is equals to, then this one gives us this. So with this information, we're having two unknown, then we're going to name it our equation number 1. Then remember, we know we can also use the concept of the gradient, because we know that the gradient of OE is equal to the gradient of OS, because these are the points on the same straight line. So let's use that information. We can say the gradient of OE is equals to the gradient small letter of OS. Then what is the gradient of OE? Remember, that was negative 1 over 4. Then the gradient of OS, that is 0 minus B over 0 minus A. That is the gradient of OS. Then if we can simplify this minus this 1 is 0, we cross multiply. Negative 1 times negative A, we get A. Negative B times 4, that is negative 4B. If we can check, we're having another equation that has two unknown. Then we can simply solve the two simultaneously. So where we see A, we can sub. Okay, let's say sub equation number 2 into 1. Meaning from equation number 1, where you see A, I put 4 squared plus B squared minus 153. From this one, what can we do? Algebra, simultaneous equation. Then this is going to be 16b squared. Then the 2 are the like terms. They give us 17. 153. Because we're looking for b, we can start by dividing by 17. 153 divided by 17 is 9. Then b, the square root of plus or minus, because we are removing squared, plus or minus. Then the answer is plus or minus 3. Then we check which side b is. B is on the negative side. The value of y is negative. Therefore, the value of b is going to be a negative 3. Therefore, value of b is negative 3. We go and look for value of a, where we see b, we put a negative 3. Then the value of a is a positive what? Positive 12. The equation says write the equation. The coordinates. Is it? Yes, the coordinates of S. That is 12 and minus 3. Then let's check how do we mark. We are say finding the value of A, finding the value of A, as well finding the value of B, negative 3. Then maybe we can say sample here. That is a 3 mark. 3 marks. Okay, equating the gradient. Then also equating this one. So for having 6, then which other mark can we give? Okay, the distance. That is 7 marks. Easy stuff. That is trigonometry. The next